typically solar systems are aged between 25 and 30 years, but they do need some maintenance within that period, like any other electrical system. So the first and most important consideration, I would say, is you've got to choose the right installer, and that starts with the people. Just said, an installation typically is between 4 and 12 months for the whole journey, and you've got to be comfortable working with those people and confident of those people for that period. Secondly, the experience. So have they done similar sized installs? Have they worked on similar buildings, similar complexities? Similar industries can make a difference. Industries such as councils and public sector obviously have slightly different challenges than private sector. And then obviously qualifications and accreditation. So there's a lot of them out there. Electrical, you can NIC, EIC, NAPIT, solar specific. The main two are MCS for smaller systems, and then Solar Energy UK provide everything over and above that, along with IET, which provides some of our technical regulations, and then obviously health and safety. I'm sure you're all familiar with Safe Contractor CHAS construction line. So once you enter the design phase, typically design is broke up into two stages. The initial feasibility is just typically a desktop design using half-hourly data and a recent utility bill. The software we use can then phase what the generation of the system would be and what your savings would be throughout that period. It also helps to then spec what size system is best suited. And then any equipment considerations. So if certain insurance suppliers you must use certain equipment. If you're wanting batteries, there's regulations around batteries, around where they can be stored. So we can start to cover off some of these considerations at a relatively early stage. Once you've seen that and you've seen an initial price and you want to progress, we then move into development. So the grid connection that I was talking about earlier. So grid connection typically come back with three options. It's either ticking the box, all good to go. They say you can connect, but you have to limit your export. So limit what you're exporting back to the grid. Or they can come back and say you can connect, but there's costs. And those costs can range depending on what needs doing. And planning is getting a lot easier, and the Labour government are doing a lot to make the planning a lot more streamlined. So that is becoming less and less of an issue. But depending on the size of the system, if you're in a conservation area or anything, there can be considerations there. And then structurals and detailed site survey. So actually coming to site, doing a full survey of the electrical infrastructure that's currently there, and firming up that quote so you know exactly what you're going to pay and what you're going to get. Next slide. So again, just delving a little bit deeper into those planning and permissions. Grid is the biggest challenge to move into renewables. It is well known within the industry, and the government are looking at doing a lot to improve this. But if we've gone from a coal-fired system where everyone turns the kettles on at 6 o'clock and they put more coal on the fire, to a renewable system when it's windy in the middle of the night and it's sunny in the middle of the day when no one's at home. So that balancing of the grid is one of the biggest challenges at the minute and can be part of the biggest delay. I've already touched on planning, so I won't go through that in any more. And then third-party permissions, if you've got a landlord for the building. Again, landlords more and more want PV because they've got targets to meet in terms of the EPC. It can increase the value of the building for them, but obviously we've got to get those ticked off relatively early on. There's a number of different ways you can fund a solar system, and obviously they affect the payback. The best option, if you've got the capital funding available, is to pay for it yourselves. You typically looking at a equivalent cost of electricity of 3 to 5 pence for that system. Asset financing is becoming more and more popular, and there's some really flexible solutions out there. So if we say got a system with a 5-year payback, we could look at a 7-year asset finance to make that cash neutral on a monthly basis. And then obviously after 7 years, you get the savings. And in the first 7 years, your savings are just paying your capital down. And then if you don't want to do either of those type of borrowings, there is PPA agreements where a developer will buy the system and effectively rent it back to you through your electricity rate. Lowest risk, obviously then lowest reward. So it's still a damn sight cheaper than the grid. Most people typically now are seeing 18 to 25 pence grid rates. So you're looking at around half of what you would be paying. So the operating and maintenance, there's a lot of systems out there that are 8, 10 years old, and this wasn't as big 8, 10 years ago when solar really started to accelerate, that now need some very significant maintenance. It's like any other electrical system in your building. We all do fixed wiring tests, we all do PAT tests, and it's a big electrical system on your roof. And most companies within the industry offer 3 levels of monitoring. The most common one is a full electrical inspection, and then either a drone survey of the roof, or if we've got access to the roof and there's a man-safe system up there, a physical inspection of the roof. And that typically is on an annual basis. Cleaning always comes up. Cleaning is very much a reactive maintenance. Some people try and build it into the annual maintenance. Most systems don't need cleaning on an annual basis, unless you're in a very dusty area or a high gull area. They're self-cleaning by nature of the British weather. The rain does most of the work for you. So we recommend that cleaning is done on an as and when basis. And depending what system and what technology you use, the system can tell you when it needs cleaning as well. And that's it from me. And I think I've just managed to keep to my 10 minutes.
Perfect. Lovely. Great presentation. Thanks very much, Chris. And I think overall, for everyone on the call, I think you can see the benefits of engaging with a good supplier, basically. It's not as simple as getting your local Sparky to chuck some panels on a roof and wire it in, basically. So do your due diligence, engage with a good supplier, and you'll get good advice like you've just seen, like seen from Chris. So thanks again. Okay, moving on to our next speaker, someone that we know very well within Coventry City Council now. I'd like to welcome Chris McTurk from Club 147 to the call, and this is a great case study in our opinion. So over to you, Chris.
Hi everyone. So my name's Chris. I'm the owner and the founder of 147 Nightclub in Coventry. We opened our doors in May 2021 after a bit of a scary period with the lockdown. At one point, we didn't know whether we were going to be able to open or not, but it's gone okay since. We're located in Coventry City Centre, just 5 minutes away from the central hub of Coventry University. Some of you, if you're local, might remember the club as Scholars Nightclub, which was a staple of the Cov nightlife since 1995. So we don't just target students, we also pride ourselves on being the community club. So we attract lots of Coventry locals of all ages. I like to do my best to support the community when I can. We do charitable donations, local sponsorships. We even have a mini ravers event which caters to parents who want to bring their children for a Sunday afternoon disco. Our net zero journey, next slide, our net zero journey began at the beginning of 2024 when I decided it'd be nice to operate in a more sustainable manner. The club uses a lot of energy on a weekend, as you can imagine, with the sound systems, the lighting, the lasers, the smoke machines running all night until the early hours of the morning. I thought it'd be nice to set an example to all the other venues in the region, similar venues, and show them that even as a business operating in the night time, you can still benefit from solar energy. The project consisted of installing a solar system capable of generating up to 100 kilowatts per day. We had to do an outlay of £50,000 for this, but this was reduced to 25 thanks to the grant support from the Net Zero project. Our estimated payback on this system was 6 years, which of course reduces to 3 when you factor in the support from the project. So in simple terms, that means it will take us 3 years to save £25,000 worth of energy bills, and at that point the project's paid for itself. Despite the British weather this summer, next slide. Despite the British weather this summer, if you can even call it a summer, we were over 90% self-sufficient. Oh, sorry, I think we've gone a slide too far. Which meant only 10% of our usage was being pulled from the grid. The installation consists of 43 solar panels fitted onto the southwest facing half of the roof, as well as 21 large batteries supported by 2 large inverters. We designed the project with scope to add more panels and more batteries in the future in order to become even more sustainable. Next slide. Another project we're currently undertaking is the installation of smart plugs and also replacing some of our bulbs with LED lights. So some of our moving heads are currently very energy heavy. So we're looking at swapping all the disco lights for LEDs instead. Next slide. So yeah, the next steps for our decarbonisation. We're going to reduce the use of single-use plastic as much as possible, whilst also maintaining customer safety. Obviously, it wouldn't be very wise to replace all of our plastic cups with glass ones in a room full of people dancing. One method we've used for this is to buy reusable cleaning product containers, which can be refilled with a concentrated bottle. This means we're not throwing away countless plastic spray bottles week after closing down. Another aim is to reduce plastic and glass bottle use and instead use canned drinks. So cans are obviously easier to recycle, they're lighter in weight, and they also cool down faster, meaning it takes less power and we don't have to leave the fridges on for as long. Next slide. So some challenges we faced. Firstly, obtaining reliable quotes for the project. So I actually ended up getting about 5 different quotes for this project, ranging from £15,000 all the way up to £95,000. So some companies were suggesting systems which simply wouldn't have been big enough, and others were quoting way over the odds for systems big enough to power the whole street, it seemed. Yeah, but this turned into a good opportunity for me to research and learn about how the systems operate. Because before I wasn't really up to scratch with the ins and outs of how solar power worked. Another challenge we faced was down to the time of the year. We planned on having the install completed by the start of summer 2024, but it quickly became apparent that that wasn't going to be possible due to delays with suppliers, delays with installers. Obviously, at that time of the year is the busiest time of the year for this sort of project, but we got it done in the end. The last challenge we had was dealing with energy suppliers who certainly do not make things easy. We actually had to go with a different supplier for our export tariff because our import tariff provider wasn't interested in helping us in any way. Which makes things even more complicated because we've now got 2 sets of companies doing meter readings and all that. But obviously it's still worth doing. So the biggest opportunity, other than becoming sustainable and working towards our net zero goals, was the significant reduction in energy bills, which before this project was something we were stressing about quite a lot because we got quite lucky with a fixed tariff beforehand, which lasted about 3 years, and we sort of struck it just at the right time. But as that was coming to an end, our bills were sort of looking like doubling or even close to tripling for our electricity. So this has come at a perfect time to sort of reduce those bills. I think the next slide is a couple of photos. Yes, so the one on the left-hand side is obviously the solar panels on the roof. And the right-hand side is the battery system, which now takes up half of my office. So there's 21 batteries there, all getting charged through the day, and then obviously being utilised in the evenings on Friday and Saturday night when we're open. Next slide. I think there's an article here. Yeah, so that's an article from the Coventry Telegraph, which we're quite proud of, which labels us the first nightclub in the UK to be powered by solar energy, which is a very nice accolade to have. Next slide. Yeah, so my general advice to other businesses would be to start seeking advice and guidance from programs like this one. I booked an energy audit in with Jonathan, which gave me masses of information on what backing was available and what I could do to start applying for any support. The staff that I spoke to that were part of the program were all very knowledgeable, very helpful. It's worth doing, even if the business ends up not being suitable for something like this. It's still worth getting this audit done, getting some advice, getting as much advice as you can, and you might learn something about how everything works. You might learn something about what other ways you can reduce your energy costs, like these smart plugs, for example, and the canned drinks, in my case. And it's definitely something that I wouldn't have been able to achieve on my own without the support I received. Next slide. That's it, yeah.
Okay, fantastic, brilliant. Well, first of all, thanks for your kind words and thanks for your kind feedback. And I think there's a couple of key points I'd like to stress on that for our audience. One, it's really good to see a business in a different sector that we normally see. We see lots of manufacturing businesses looking to do solar. Hospitality, you're one of the first we've had through. So it's good to see that you've had a lot of success with that. And if anybody's on the call, of course, in a different sector to manufacturing, you can see that it's worth doing, basically. So it's not sector specific. Look at it in more detail. And what I like, Chris, as well, was the way you went through those challenges and opportunities as well. That was good to see the sort of barriers you've got, the problems you've got, and how you overcame them. So brilliant. Thanks very much for your words there. Right, over to me then. I'm going to just quickly run through a bit about the funding programme that Chris has alluded to just now. So as you know by now, we are Decarbonisation Net Zero, and our aim is twofold. A, to give you your on-site energy audit and guidance to drive down your costs. And we're looking to spot things that will reduce your costs by solar, by lighting, by insulation, those kind of things. And as you can see there, we are funded through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so as I've said, we're all about supporting decarbonisation for our local businesses, and that of course has knock-on effects in terms of reducing the UK's overall carbon. We know we're trying to align with the 2050 net zero target, but locally we're about providing immediate support to any companies out there that are looking to reduce their energy use, increase their competitiveness, and increase their sustainability credentials as well. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so just to set the scene then in terms of where we're at now, it's for SME businesses that are eligible. So the first thing we do is check your eligibility, and the programme itself ends in March 2025, which means we've got just about 6 months on the programme left. So if you're looking for funding, engage soon, because we've got to do the audit first of all, look at your options, then you need to apply for the grant and get the work done before you can claim the money. So we've got 6 months. With solar, as both speakers have alluded to, there are some little barriers along the way, such as DNO issues, supplier issues, and so on. So my advice, reach out quickly, get in touch with us, and we can start the process as soon as possible to make sure you can get access to the money, basically. In terms of the grant funding, as you can see there, back one please, Maria, sorry, I've not finished waffling. Okay, in terms of the funding, just to sort of outline that, it's up to 50% towards your project, be it lighting, be it solar, and so on and so forth. And the grants range between £1,000 and £100,000. So essentially, if you've got a £200,000 project, we can give you up to £100,000 towards it. Now, there's a couple of caveats behind that. Just bear in mind that throughout the whole region, the funding pots we've got underpinning it, they vary ever so slightly. So some areas may not qualify for funding specifically for solar. Having said that, grant or no grant, it's worth looking at in my opinion, but do reach out. We can still do you the actual audit front end, and then we can talk about the funding possibilities when we do that initial onboarding call with you. So reach out basically. And as you can see, the areas we cover: Birmingham, Solihull, Coventry, Black Country and Warwickshire. So we've got a really wide spread of our wider area. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so just to set the scene in terms of what to expect if this is of interest to you. First of all, you need to register with us. There's a hyperlink there, and there's a slide further on with a nice QR code and a couple of links on to register. So once we've got your registration, we do an initial triage call with you, as we call it. So we'll make a quick call or a quick Teams call. If you can just click one through, Maria, if that's all right. Yeah, so we do a quick call with you, set the scene, go through what you're looking for, and then check your eligibility to make sure you do fit within the program. From that, we then book in the free on-site energy audit that we've all referred to. That's a walk around with you, go through your bills with you, see where we can help. From that, we'll then provide you with a report that details. Sometimes there's up to 10 recommendations of ways of improving your energy use. We'll then sit with you and go through whether you want to go for one of them or 3 or 4 of them, or even all of them, and then take it through to the grant application stage. So you then apply for the grant. Once it's approved, you can crack on with the work and get it done. Once the work is completed, you then get your agreed grant given to you. But again, you've got until March 2025 to make that claim. So the sooner the better is my advice, basically. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, a couple of quick things to end on then. Free resources, basically. So we have what's called our Green Business Network. This is essentially a network that we've set up. So it's free to join. You'll get opportunities to network with other businesses. You'll get a free newsletter. You get the first wind of all the events we put on, either online or in person. So if that's of interest, QR code there to join. Next one, please, Maria. We also like to talk about anything energy efficiency and sustainable, as you can probably tell. So we have a monthly podcast that we push out. On there, we go through all sorts of stuff. We've gone through solar, we've gone through heat pumps, we've gone through energy efficiency. We've even looked at things like drones and ways of extracting water from air. So there's lots of interesting things that we've discussed. So if you'd like to register, go on that QR code and you'll see all the past sessions. We've got a few more sessions planned for later on this year as well. So keep your eyes on that. And then finally, this is a nice little tool actually. If you can imagine, when we do our reports and present them to a business, very often the first question we get asked is, well, where do I go to get somebody to quote on what you're guiding me on? Now, as a council, we're not allowed to recommend individual suppliers because we have to stay impartial. But if you go on this link, there are a range of suppliers on there. For example, Eneco are on there as one of our suppliers for solar. Go on there, and there's a list of suppliers within the different sectors that you can contact. You can go out and get quotations from for the kind of things that we're recommending. And maybe Chris from Club 147, we can perhaps get a separate section for you as a sustainable club, maybe to point people out. So we'll have a think about that after the presentation. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so if it is of interest, if it's piqued your interest and you want to look at it in a bit more detail, that's how you register. So my advice is to register via one of the 2 links on the bottom left-hand corner there. West Midlands businesses, you've got a separate link to Warwickshire, but that then comes into us pretty quickly. We can then engage with you, talk through what you're looking to do, and then get the audit booked in. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Okay. So a couple of other things coming up which may be of interest to you. We actually have a really good in-person event booked in for the 10th of October at the MTC north of Coventry. A lot of guest speakers, a good couple of hours worth of discussions, and a lot of networking there as well. And I believe free breakfast. So if that's of interest, register and we'll see you actually on site there. And I think that's it in terms of the slides. Yeah, so questions. Let me just quickly go through the chat and see if anything's been dropped in. Okay. So yeah, Dave, in answer to your question, yeah, we'll send out the slides to you as soon as we can. If anyone's got any questions, they want to drop them in the chat, or if you're brave, raise your hand and ask our panel maybe. Okay, I've got a few questions I've thought of myself, just in case no one on the call was asking any questions. Question to Chris, actually, from Club 147. It interests me that your demographic of your audience perhaps would be more interested in being green than perhaps an older demographic. Have you noticed any sort of engagement at all, or any sort of positive feedback from your customers, as it were, in terms of what you're doing? Perhaps feedback from the article, or the fact they've seen the panels on the way into the club?
Yeah, I'd say massively with students more than anything. I know obviously universities push the green sort of agenda to everyone at university. So yeah, we've had a lot of feedback from students in particular that really like the idea of going to a green nightclub. Yeah,
they want to spend their money somewhere green, I suppose, or more ethical. That's good. That's kind of what I thought. That's why I asked, because one of the things that I mention when I'm talking to companies, as Chris from Eco probably outlines, it's not just about the commercial benefits; it's about the soft benefits as well. So you're presenting your business as a greener business. You can perhaps win more tenders, win more bids in your supply chain, and it also helps you to attract and retain staff who are coming at things from a greener perspective as well. So good answer, fantastic. One thing for Chris from an Eco as well, just as a personal interest, have you seen many suppliers going under lately that are perhaps not as professional as yourselves? I know a lot of companies jumped on the bandwagon when the energy prices went up a few years ago. Has the market sort of become less saturated in terms of suppliers you've seen?
I will answer. I was just going to touch on a point. There was a recent survey by Planet Mark that highlighted that 55% of all companies are now getting asked by either their customers or in tenders what are their net zero and carbon reporting, and it was 37% of SMEs. So I suppose you expect it from the big PLCs, but it is now filtering down that it is becoming a standard part of tendering.
Yeah, we're seeing that a lot, especially in Coventry in the automotive supply chain, for example. A lot of companies that I see are having to flag carbon reduction, and this fits in nicely with it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of new entrants, it's a real high growth sector. I think certainly in the domestic there is still a hell of a lot of new entrants.
Okay.
Octopus are doing a lot of good for the industry, but they are driving the price down, which is then driving quality down. In the commercial sector, we're seeing plenty of new entrants, and it seems to be that the ones that are doing it right are staying there and getting stronger, and there's just a churn at the bottom end. So we're staying well clear of that.
Yeah, good answer. Thank you. I'll take your point. Good answer. Thank you. Okay, so I can't see any more questions in the chat, so we'll draw to a close if that's okay. So firstly, thank you to both Chris's for joining today. Really informative, and I hope our audience enjoyed that as well. And also thanks to everyone that's joined the call today. I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope you've enjoyed the week if you've attended more than one session. So thank you all for attending. Reach out to us if we can help with an energy audit, and I may see you on site at some point soon. Thanks for joining.